Welcome back to, I guess, this episode 11, part 11. I had to stop the previous video, part 10, abruptly because I was looking at the time and only give you a certain amount of time to record these videos, and I was running out. So I apologize for that, and I thank you kindly for coming back to listen to story time, how God saved me from witchcraft and destiny swapping. My neighbor was a witch, um, a high ranking witch at that. So I left off at in the previous video, part 10, where during this time at my aunt's, now I've been to three different places since I've been back home, trying to work, teleworking, um, from the hotel to friends, cousins, to now my own family, my aunt's house, my uncle through a previous marriage, my uncle's ex-wife and her daughter. So during this time, I was before I abruptly had to um, stop the video. Um, I was mentioning that I was all the time, once I started, I had initially, I was waiting for my job to onboard me, but as soon as I got the green light to go, um, and signed off on everything, I had already received the offer letter before I left, my previous city that I lived in and got on the road. But once I got the green light, I started searching online for different apartments. Um, even, I tooled around with the thought of renting a house. But it's just me, so I didn't need much space. And I didn't know what the future entailed, considering we were smack dead in a pandemic. So, and I was driving around like looking for spaces, and I had applied to two different places, but again, like I never heard from these people. Like it went radio silent. I was calling, emailing, and nothing. So I was just like, I don't, got taken for it. We're in a pandemic. I shouldn't have done that. But then I was driving around and I found this other place, and there was someone there. I couldn't go in. They came out once I pulled up into the, property manager's office, and and they said it was, they had some availability, some available units, and they were still, renting. And so I moved forward with like um, applying for this place. I couldn't do the walkthrough. Uh, they did it for me online, like called me and did the FaceTime. So I was like, cool. They showed me three different units, different floor plans, and I'm like, okay, this is it. Honey, they took my money, and I never heard from these people too. I was like in a panic now. I'm spending money, so now I'm scared. So this is why, like, I'm in these two different places, but only for a couple of weeks, and all these things transpire. But I received no responses, couldn't get through, when I called, and again, we were in the pandemic. So at this point, I'm still feeling unwell, but the emergency room still wouldn't see me, and I didn't have a primary care doctor yet. I haven't even received my cards yet, and so my health, but the health insurance kicked in immediately after I started working, so that was a good thing. And so, in retrospect, I realized that my illness was spiritual, and no doctor, like, I think that was the Holy Spirit kept putting that on my mind. But then going on YouTube, like this was my food every day. I was on YouTube looking at all these different ministries and like other people's testimonies and started to realize what was really happening to me. And no doctor couldn't help me. But at this time, I hadn't awakened spiritually yet. I didn't know how to fight back against this stuff, the challenges that I was facing. And what I didn't realize was that I was answering the call, and I wasn't going to give up. And this was all a test. And, I was trying to fight back as much as I could. Um, I wasn't seeking vengeance by sending back these curses for some odd reason. I just felt like I wasn't supposed to do that. Sending back the curses, the spells, the negative energy. I just prayed. I just prayed. And, you know, I was undergoing some significant tests, to break generational curses. I realized that, that have been passed down through my family. And, I would see these things and everything that, comes with it, I was experiencing. But still in my mind, I'm like, this is not happening to me. But in the other previous video I was mentioning, I left my aunt's house that one Saturday morning and I drove to Target. And I was just sitting in this car, just crying my heart out and talking to God. And it's like he started to give me an understanding about some things, like my uncle, for instance. I realized he was a narcissist, and it wasn't just my mom. I come from a full blown narcissistic family, through and through. And, um, it was very toxic. And I hadn't recognized the full extent of it until now. And yeah, because I started like replaying everything that was happening there at my aunt's house. Like he had set the stage for my little cousin to harbor hatred toward me, having instigated, these disputes long before I arrived on the scene. He had manipulated her by telling her things I supposedly intended to do, because they were in a dispute. And because I watch how, he's fighting with his daughter like he's a 12-year-old or a 20-year-old. And like they all fighting each other, and it's just weird, which explains why she was so defensive and aggressive towards me. And I have nothing to do with that. He my uncle, I love him. But yeah, I didn't have anything to do with what's going on with them. I didn't want to be involved in that. But the experience of dealing with the witchcraft, it marked the beginning of a profound life change for me. I had to decide, would I answer this call or would I would give up, because all of this stuff was meant for me to be unalive. And this journey is not easy. And it certainly isn't for the weak. In any case, just stay tuned to the next episode, 12, because this is actually an extension to the last video, which is, I think, episode 10, part 10. And I just want to say, take care, may God continue to bless you, protect you, and just protect your energy. Be mindful of the people that you cross paths with. Don't eat from everybody. Don't just use your discernment, because people are wicked. You don't even have to know them that well. You don't have to do them. And stop posting so many photos and your whole life story on these platforms, because it's not healthy. You got people who watching you, but they watching you to collect information, to use as your downfall, and Continue to seek the Lord in all things, especially things of this matter, because you can't get through it without Him. No doctor, nobody could pray it out of you. You need to go and get baptized, that's for sure. And you need to make fasting and praying a lifestyle. So I hope, these story, my story time, these videos help you or someone that you know. So continue to watch, and there's a lot more. This is just the beginning. Once I got into my own place, it got really scary. It seems like since these spirits had me alone, they just really went to work on me. And, you know, I was doing everything I thought I needed to do, so I didn't understand why wasn't I being healed. But now these things in my body are growing, and they're expelling, and it looked like full blown, like I don't need, like I can't even describe it. I took photos of these things because no one would believe me, not even the doctors. And even when I showed the doctors the photos, it's like the spirits that were on me had them still to look at me and like some disdain or something like. And I'm showing them these things, but now, since all of this stuff has been lifted, when I show my son, he cries that to know that I even went through these things, but he witnessed a lot of it. And then, I don't really, you know, talk to people during this situation. I realize a lot of people who were in my life or on this journey or going through all of this, they wasn't supposed to be there anymore. So I disconnected from a lot of people, you know, um, a lot of people that the enemy used against me, to monitor me, and just they were compromised. They would always attack me. Even coming back home after all these years, reconnecting with old friends, old childhood friends, it got really weird. So stay tuned because I have a lot more to share. All right. Thank you again for tuning in. Until the next video, be well. Bye bye.